Hello there, my name's Eric McKay and you're watching News Channel Nebraska. Let's take a look at our top headlines today. A Hickman man in jail after leading deputies and state troopers on a pursuit in southeast Nebraska. Authorities say a trooper successfully deployed stop sticks after the vehicle turned northbound onto Highway 77 southwest of Lincoln. But authorities say the Jeep continued onto I-80 where it eventually came to a stop near the West Cornhusker interchange. The driver then, according to authorities, got out of the Jeep and ran across all 6 lanes of the interstate before he was arrested. 39-year-old Joshua Pierce of Hickman faces obstruction, willful reckless driving, and resisting arrest charges. He was lodged in the Otoe County Jail. The Lincoln Airport announced the loss of another destination yesterday. United Airlines says it's ending service between Houston and Lincoln effective May 23rd. United says they'll continue to serve Lincoln from Denver and Chicago. The airline says it does plan to add an additional flight between Lincoln and Denver this summer and another between Lincoln and Chicago this fall. The movement to re-enroll Nebraska in a summer food program aimed at low-income residents is getting bipartisan support, and now it's been stamped as one senator's top priority. State Senator Ray Aguilar of Nebraska made LB 952 his priority bill yesterday. That's the measure that would force the Department of Health and Human Services to establish the Summer Electronic Benefits Program. Governor Jim Pillen declined re-enrolling in the program in December, saying an existing USDA program is sufficient. But Aguilar says Pillen's move has drawn sharp pushback.
This bill brought in more phone calls from the city of Grand Island, from school district, just all over the board of people asking me to please consider prioritizing it because of the need that we had as well as the need across the state. I'm very optimistic that that's a possibility. And, it's always tough to get something by the governor if he's opposed to it. So I think the key is to try to convince him that this is something we need and have him kind of back off a little bit.
Another bill being debated in the Nebraska legislature would protect homeowners that want to install solar panels on their home. Lincoln Senator George Dungan presented LB 1119 to the unicameral's Judiciary Committee yesterday. Dungan says the bill would prevent homeowners associations from blocking homeowners from installing electric systems on their property to save energy. The bill would also void any existing restrictions that HOAs have already put in place. Dungan said yesterday the bill would not impact other HOA rules and regulations. So, some state senators, meanwhile, say they're sick of springing forward and falling back. Lawmakers yesterday debated making daylight savings time permanent in Nebraska. State Senator Danielle Conrad introduced the measure. She says even if Nebraska makes the permanent switch, it wouldn't necessarily be a done deal right away.
So there's really 2 contingencies in the approach that LB 143 utilizes. Action in 3 adjacent states, 2 have already acted, so we need 1 more to go, and movement on the federal level.
Wyoming and Colorado are already on board, but Nebraska would need Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, or South Dakota to also make a move to make daylight savings time permanent before any movement could be made at the federal level. Nebraska Supreme Court Chief Justice is calling for improvements to a system he says is being held together with bubble gum and baling wire. Chief Justice Michael Heavican made that comment during his annual State of the Judiciary in the Nebraska legislature yesterday. Heavican said the current case management system is outdated. It was launched in 1993. He said that leaves Nebraska vulnerable, pointing to a cyber attack last year in Kansas that shut down their case management system for months.
Kansas serves as a warning for the rest of us. If the Kansas Supreme Court fell victim to a sophisticated foreign cyber attack, without needed upgrades, we must consider ourselves equally vulnerable.
Heavican also lobbied for construction of more juvenile detention centers, pointing out Nebraska currently has no juvenile centers west of Lincoln. A central Nebraska town will soon have a 4th school district with a unique curriculum and schedule. Ana Ruth Lugo Mejia has more.
A new school option will soon be available in central Nebraska. Hastings Christian School is planning to open as a K-12 school in the fall after 3 years of planning. Classes will be taught at the YMCA building on 18th Street. The building is owned by Grace Life Church, and the church will rent the space to the school. This first year won't be accredited, but they will be working on a Christian accreditation. Board member Garrett Walking says the city needs a Christian school.
Our desire is to see children receive a Christian worldview where they're taught from the Word of God and where they're able to then be able to go out into the world and give a testimony for the Lord Jesus Christ.
The school plans to meet 3 days per week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, which Walking says will appeal to a lot of people who are already homeschooling and doing Christian co-ops. Either Monday or Friday, families will choose a day to do homework for 3 to 4 hours, and in the future, the school plans to offer extracurricular activities on those days. Children will be placed in classes based on their mastery levels. The school will also rotate through eras of time, medieval, modern, U.S. history, and ancient, so that the school can learn together. Watkins says the school's approach will differentiate it from others in the area.
We will be using the classical Christian model, which is an emphasis on the liberal arts, as well as the fact that we're a Christian school, which means that we will be emphasizing and teaching from a biblical worldview.
The school has fundraised enough to start, but school officials say they are planning to charge enough tuition so as to not rely on donors. They're expecting at least 60 students, which means they need a minimum of 6 teachers.
We're excited to be an ecumenical school where Christians from all different kinds of churches are able to come, and we hope to be a blessing to Hastings.
They're still working on the design of the classrooms. Tuition will be $4,900 plus a curriculum fee of $350. In Hastings, Ana Ruth Lugo Mejia, New Channel, Nebraska.
A Southeast Nebraska Rotary Club is raising money at basketball games to support local and international causes. Kyle Mathis has more.
Fairbury Rotary held a tailgate supper Thursday at the Fairbury basketball games at the Fairbury Junior Senior High. They offered burgers, brats, hot dogs, and more at a reasonable price, $7, in which they would donate the money to local and national causes.
Just trying to both raise a little bit of money for Rotary and the many causes that we support, and to support our local schools and our community with a good meal that they can have while they're at the basketball game.
This is the third year that Rotary has done tailgates at basketball games. They say they make around $500 to $800 per night. They want to be visible in the way that they help the community, and Lana Likens believes that being at a basketball game can do just that.
We like to do some things out in the community where we can be visible and people can see Rotary in action. Rotary is one of our themes is people of action, and we try to be people of action.
Some of the services that Rotary uses their money raised for is 2 scholarships given to high school seniors, local causes, and international causes about polio.
You know, to me, volunteers and people doing service for others is really the backbone of our country, as far as we can all do things to help each other. And whether it's, providing a meal for a reasonable price, or whether it's supporting a fundraiser like that and using those funds to help in other areas of our community and of our world, it kind of all what goes around comes around, and we all end up helping each other.
Unfortunately, Fairbury lost in the basketball games, but the community, with the fundraisers like this, continued to win. Reporting for News Channel Nebraska, I'm Kyle Mathis.
A central Nebraska community is showing off the progress of its latest major park feature. Michael Shively has the story.
One of Kearney's signature parks is now sporting a new amenity. The city hosted an open house for Gail and Michael Yany Pavilion at Yany Park on Thursday. The new venue is available to rent for events and meetings. Director of Recreation Services Scott Hayden says it adds a different style of rental space to the city's in-demand offerings.
This is probably a little more high-end space. Has the wraparound patio, which is unique, the overlook of the gardens. The green space that's out with the gardens comes with the rental, so you could kind of expand out into the gardens.
The pavilion is one of the finishing touches of Phase 2 of the Gardens project at the park. The new annuals, rose, and edibles gardens will be planted in the spring.
You'll see a lot of glass, so definitely the overlook into the gardens is definitely something that's eye-catching. We also have some great art pieces that are tied in with this building, but really the openness of the building and overlooking the gardens was the main thing.
Yany Park is more than just a place for people to gather. It's also home to world-class art. Among the pieces in the gardens is a 15-foot sculpture by Dale Chihuly. You can see it behind me through the fog. Two of the renowned artist's sculptures are hanging from the ceilings in the pavilion, and 3 paintings are on the wall.
All the art pieces that are in the gardens and in this building, bring a uniqueness and kind of a richness to it.
The pavilion cost about $4 million to build, and the entire 2-phase gardens project was around $12 million. All features at Yany Park were paid for by donations or grants. The pavilion is available for rent now through Kearney Parks and Rec. In Kearney, Michael Shively, News Channel, Nebraska.
Legislation to address the crisis at the southern border might have to wait until next year. Republicans say they're helping negotiate a bipartisan Senate deal, but former President Donald Trump is urging his party to stop it. Amy Kiley has more.
I hope no one is trying to take this away for campaign purposes.
Some Republicans backing a Senate border deal are expressing frustration. That's after former President Donald Trump urged his party to reject it.
I don't doubt that he wants a perfect deal, so do I on it. But we've got to be able to figure out how to be able to do something right now.
Trump says passage would let Democrats share the political win.
I just reject the idea that we should reserve a crisis for a better time to solve it.
Hardline House Republicans already say they don't want to compromise. New obstacles mean the bumpy path to a deal might be at a dead end.
They're saying, hey, to protect President Trump, we need to make sure we don't vote on this.
Polls show immigration is the top issue for GOP voters. Now a border bill might not be possible this year. It could take even longer if Republicans don't win total control of the government and still won't compromise. That is, unless Democrats meet all their demands. In Texas, Governor Greg Abbott says he's fed up. He's ordering further deployment of razor wire along parts of the Rio Grande. That's despite a Supreme Court ruling that lets Border Control take it down. Abbott cites a constitutional right to rally troops during invasions.
It's not the kind of invasion that they were thinking of in 1787.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Students in central Nebraska are learning about opportunities to give back to their community. The Multicultural Resource Center on the Grand Island campus of Central Community College hosted its first ever volunteer fair yesterday. Graphic design specialist Emily Klimek says volunteering not only benefits students, but also the community.
I think that community involvement is only going to strengthen your view and value of where you live. When you're involved with your community, then you want to you want to be a part of it, and then in turn you know what's going on. You're more aware of what's happening. You take more pride.
The Literacy Council, Big Brothers Big Sisters, and the YWCA were among the nonprofits in attendance. The fair is meant to honor the mission of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Next year, they say they plan to have more volunteer organizations at the event. Farmers in northeast Nebraska have a better idea of how much they'll be able to irrigate in the coming season. Ryan Pattee has more.
It was a big day for the Lower Elkhorn Natural Resource District on Thursday. It's the first time that the LENRD has been able to meet this month due to the amount of snowfall that they had seen in January, creating unsafe driving conditions. During Thursday's meeting, a number of topics were discussed, including new irrigated acres within the Lower Elkhorn Natural Resource District. The board says about 25,000 acres applied to become irrigated, but only a few are actually going to receive that benefit. Landowners will be notified here in the coming days. They are also talking about bills in the Nebraska legislature now that the legislature is back and open. A bill in particular they're keeping their eye on is 1415, which was introduced by Senator Robert Dover. The LENRD says they are opposed to the bill. The bill would change how different organizations like schools and municipals would receive funding from the state government. Reporting from Norfork, I'm Ryan Pattee.
A new partnership between a nonprofit and a Northeast Nebraska city is hoping to raise awareness towards sudden infant death syndrome. Luke Stera has more.
After beginning a tree memorial at Skyview Park and moving to Warrencook Park, a memorial garden is in the works at Winter Park. The partnership between the City of Norfolk and the Briggs & Barrett Project is a way to raise awareness towards a cause many families suffer through.
Allows other families that have maybe had that loss to talk about it and know that their loss isn't forgotten. SIDS and SUIDS isn't something that a lot of people want to talk about, or for generations we haven't talked about it.
The CDC says SUIDS, also known as sudden unexpected infant death, is the umbrella term that describes all sudden infant deaths, and SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, falls under that umbrella as one of the many different causes of infant death. SIDS is the sudden death of a child, often associated with sleeping. According to the CDC, from 2016 to 2020 in Nebraska, 91 cases of SIDS occurred every 100,000 births.
And now that we're bringing awareness and we are having these conversations, we're not only letting families know that they're not alone, but we are providing education and resources to families that have infants to help them prevent these things from happening.
Assistant Parks and Recreation Director P.J. Evans says it's an honor to be a part of the building of a memorial that impacts families in the region.
Being able to expand off of that and just bringing awareness, they've saved that many more lives, so I think that's the whole reason behind all of this.
The new garden will feature the Briggs & Barrett logo within the garden that will contain memorial bricks in remembrance of families who have suffered an infant death. Melby Hymas says she is grateful for the city working to memorialize the lives of Briggs and Barrett, two infants who passed from SIDS, and their mothers who began the organization.
Having a place that people can go and reflect, and hearing the story and the history behind Briggs & Barrett Project and what we do every day, I think that is such a benefit to Norfolk to have that as a permanent structure in Norfolk.
Both Melby Hymas and Evans are looking forward to the park being finished and say they are working with local businesses in the community to help build a memorial garden. In Norfolk, I'm Luke Stera, News Channel Nebraska.
A longtime landmark in Norfolk is getting moved to make way for park improvements. In this video, you can see crews beginning to move a longtime railroad bridge in Norfolk, the very old and very heavy bridge located off 1st Street and Brosh Avenue. Dan and Connie Geary of Norfolk have donated the funds to move the bridge. The bridge was owned by Union Pacific and then donated to the city back in September. The move part of the city's ongoing multi-million-dollar renovation of Johnson Park. A library in Northeast Nebraska is hosting an event where the people are the books. Organizers say they're hoping to knock down barriers and start conversations in their community. Luke Stera has more.
Norfolk Public Library and Northeast Community College Library are inviting the community to unjudge someone at the Human Library event in the spring. The international event began in 2000 in Denmark, and the one-day session will make its way to Norfolk at the two libraries.
We are joining the map of worldwide human library events. So it's really cool to have Norfolk sort of become a part of this international event.
Volunteers will serve as the books of the library and will share their life experiences with the goal of the event to break down stereotypes, celebrate diversity, and promote inclusivity. Director of Library Services at Northeast, Jen Ippenson, says the event offers an opportunity for people to ask the hard questions and learn about someone whose experiences are different from theirs.
We all have biases based on our previous experiences, and this is a way to just honestly confront that and ask the hard questions to learn about someone else and their experiences and come to a new understanding.
The event will start on April 9th with the first session taking place in Union 73 on Northeast Campus from 12 to 3 p.m. and move to the Norfolk Public Library from 5 to 8 p.m. Ramirez believes the event gives a chance for people in the community to share their stories and make personal connections with their neighbors.
I think this gives us an opportunity to meet our neighbors, meet people who we live in community with, who we don't know their stories or whose experiences are different from ours.
Ippenson and Ramirez says anyone who is interested in becoming a book at the Human Library can reach out to either of them and get the application process started. In Norfolk, I'm Luke Stera, News Channel Nebraska.
You can find more news, weather, and much more by visiting our website, newschannelnebraska.com. My name's Eric McKay. Thank you so much for joining us. This is News Channel Nebraska.